Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Fort, and we are here for another poetry discussion. Today's poetry discussion comes to us from Charles Bukowski, as the poem is in The People Look Like Flowers at Last. The poem in question starts on page 39, and it is titled The People Know, which is the people, comma, space, know. Not K-N-O-W, but the people know. Startling. Such determination in the dull and uninspired, and the copyists, they never lose the fierce gratitude for their uneventfulness, nor do they forget to laugh at the wit of slugs. As a study and deluded senses, they'd make any pharaoh cough up his beans. In music, they prefer the monotony of dripping faucets. In love and sex, they prefer each other, and therefore compound the problem. The energy with which they propel their uselessness, without any self-doubt, toward worthless goals, is as magnificent as cow shit. They produce novels, children, death, freeways, cities, wars, wealth, poverty, politicians, and total areas of grandiose waste. It's as if the whole world is wrapped in dirty bandages. It's best to take walks late at night. It's best to do your business only on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's best to sit in a small room with the shades down and wait. The strongest men are the fewest, and the strongest women die alone too. Well, that was warm and cuddly, huh? That was inspiring. That was exactly what one would expect to get from Bukowski. Now imagine this guy being your uncle or something, right? Go to him for a couple words of advice and get a swift kick in the pants. What this poem really has on display, so Bukowski is setting a scene of all of these people that are worthless, useless, he calls them. Useless in their ambition. And then he goes and lists a whole lot of shit that they do. Produce novels, children, freeways, cities, wealth. All of those things seem commendable on some level, at least. And then he outlines himself as the speaker, right? Because we always have to sort of keep in mind, this might not be Bukowski, the poet, talking to us. It might be a character in the poem, the speaker, as is sometimes dichotomized. Here, it seems to be Bukowski, but it need not be. The speaker in the poem acts as Bukowski does, shutting himself off from society, giving himself no grand platform, simply assuming the role of the lesser. So if our speaker here, the judgmental one, as they are, is the lesser, all of these other people doing all of these other things are worthless, are useless, and our speaker seems to sort of place himself below them, at least as far as ambition is concerned, at least as far as accomplishment is concerned. So what does that say about humanity in general? There seems to be no pedestal in this poem. There seems to only be the high platform of worthlessness and everything else beneath that. So, with that in mind, let me have one more reading at this. The people know. Startling. Such determination in the dull and uninspired, and the copyists, they never lose the fierce gratitude for their uneventfulness, nor do they forget to laugh at the wit of slugs. As a study in diluted senses, they'd make any pharaoh cough up his beans. In music, they prefer the monotony of dripping faucets. In love and sex, they prefer each other, and therefore compound the problem. The energy with which they propel their uselessness, without any self-doubt, toward worthless goals is as magnificent as cow shit. They produce novels, children, death, freeways, cities, wars, wealth, poverty, politicians, and total areas of grandiose waste. It's as if the whole world is wrapped in dirty bandages. It's best to take walks late at night. It's best to do your business only on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's best to sit in a small room with the shades down and wait. The strongest men are the fewest, and the strongest women die alone, too. We're pointing at the strongest, but it's not with these, it's with those. We're pointing at the strongest the men and the women, essentially denoting them as too few to do anything worthwhile, anything good in general. Too few to make a real difference. This is a poem of the second strain of nihilism. Nihilism suffered a sharp dichotomization after World War I. So nihilism was a robust type of philosophy as it sprung up. It was not a philosophy of nothingness as it is today known. It was a philosophy that stated nothing is beyond contempt. Nothing is beyond question. Nothing is beyond testing out. We got to test everything. We got to keep doing it. That's what nihilism was. There's a quote I share on the channel every so often from Pisarev saying, strike out left, strike out right. What is not good will not withstand the blow. What is good will stand the blow, and we will keep it and move forward with it as part of our culture. That was one of the original nihilist creeds. The problem was, people got to World War I, looked around, nihilism still being a flush, young philosophy, 1880, about 30 years old, about my age, I'm flush, I'm young, I'm vibrant. As a philosophy, it would be more so, right? I'm not going to make it to 60, but philosophies make it way longer than that. But in the wake of World War I, there was so much destruction that everyone kind of looked around and said, oh, well, nothing withstands the blow. It all just crumbles. It all just crumbles. When things are bad enough, it all just goes away. We have to make up our minds for ourselves whether or not that is true. That, I think, is the testament of nihilism, the true testament of nihilism. Whether or not there is something worth taking, worth saving, worth preserving and moving forward, whether that exists. But this poem doesn't really get there. This poem really puts forward the question, what is our lot in life? What is worth it? And what is it worth? Bukowski, at least in this poem, posits no real answer. At least in this poem, seems to say that whatever it is that you, as you, do, cool, baby, yeah, but don't make me do it. That's sort of the MO with Bukowski, right? He lists all of those grandiose things, building highways and cities and writing novels. It says it's all pointless, it's all worthless. But why does he, the speaker, spend the time writing this poem if it's all worthless? This is an individual who has cordoned himself off from society in general by staying in that dark room and only doing his business on Mondays and Tuesdays. taking his walks late at night. Still, the speaker is willing to direct us that the strongest men and women do exist, but they exist very few and far between, and because they are so great and they are so few, they will die alone. What does it mean to die alone? Does it mean literally on your own, dying alone in a desert? Or does it mean that you never really know anyone? Do you think Elon Musk has ever met anyone that he knew, that really knew him? Probably not. Those are the best of us. Do the best of us ever know anyone? Would it be worth it to be one of the best of us? Would it be worth it? If it's not worth it, mightn't we just go ahead and revel in whatever life it is that we have? Mightn't we go ahead and make the best of each moment that we do have? Because, hey, who wants to be great anyway? What does it mean to make the best of what we have? Doesn't that go back to the original nihilistic maxim of, hey, what will withstand the blow is good, but we've got to constantly be testing these things? I don't know. And I'm not sure Bukowski does either, because Bukowski constantly writes poems such as this, questioning the merit of absolutely everything, saying absolutely nothing is really worth it. Nothing's worth it. What are you doing? Why try? Why get up in the morning? In fact, the post-World War I nihilistic creed went from, hey, test everything, to, hey, every morning, there's one real question. And hey, if you're watching this and you don't know what that question is, don't ask. Don't ask what that question is. You've had a good life. Try not to figure it out. But what is the point? What are the reasons? The speaker here says it's best to do your business on Mondays and Tuesdays. Well, because there's no one around. Well, then why do your business at all? It's best to take your walks late at night. Well, why stick around for those walks? Bukowski never really answers that question. And in fact, I don't know if it ever comes up in Bukowski, that one question. I don't know that it ever really comes up in Bukowski. So it seems to be that the speaker here, that Bukowski in general, just sort of has enough gusto to wake up, take those first couple steps, and figure out the day from there. Is that a life worth living? I don't know. But it's kind of what we all do anyway. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. I have new videos on the channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays are for poetry. I also have new videos on my personal channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and a link to that can be found. A link to that channel can be found, in the description below.